Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jessica, your host for this morning. Tasty consumer workshops which happens in 5 cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore and Pune as of now, and we definitely plan to come here to our city soon. Ladies and gentlemen, Canon welcomes you all to one of the most trusted and respected brands. A company which has been established for more than 70 long years and has been at the forefront of differentiation and innovation. Canon started out in 1937 with the vision to make the best camera for the world. More than 6 decades later, now it is ranked 154th on the Fortune 500 and has made a name not only photography arena but is now a renowned brand in digital imaging. With a goal to bring the best innovations to people around the world, Canon as an organization has a culture of technology innovation and is driving the transition to the digital era in India via the introduction of sophisticated new age digital imaging products. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Mr. Kensaku Konishi, President and CEO of Canon India.
Thank you, Jessica. Namaskar, Kolkata. Namaskar, Canon. I'm very pleased to be here with all of you, and we are very exciting and happy and proud to have such kind of session in Calcutta with Mr. Raghu. Thank you very much. We cannot think the camera is not a tool to take digital image. The photography is more than that. But to realize that, of course, we need the tool, devices. But not only that, we know deep knowledge of photography and technique. And more than that, we do believe the bottom of the heart to record your momentum. So today, I'm very much exciting to such kind of huge number of people, long queue outside to get this information, to make your life more fun. So Canon start operation in India 1997. Since then, we try to contribute Indian society to make your society more prosperity, more happiness, and more advance. And this is a very small effort for us to contribute to society. And we keep going that, such kind of workshop. As well as we have level 4, international level, service center in Kolkata. You can bring any lens, body, whatever issue, in case you have them, we can fix in here, Kolkata. We have 4 level 4 master center across India. That is one of the proof Canon catering your customer, our customer. And your delight or your happiness is our happiness. So please enjoy today and have a good memory and fun. Thank you very much.
In India, to introduce the team who has brought this event to you today.
Thank you, Jessica. I thank each and every one who has come here and gave us the encouragement and the strength to come back again and again to Kolkata to do such a grand event. I thank you all for showing the overwhelming response to this event today. And obviously, with Canon, Mr. Raghu Rai is a big inspiration to be here for this show today. I would like to thank the team members who have been behind this to make this whole event a success today. Raghu Chatterjee from the Calcutta branch. Can I just request the team members to come on the stage fast? Anil from Kolkata, Capital Photo, Anup, Shomendu, Giriraj, Mr. Alok and Sanjeev from the team is not here at this moment, and our partners from Amritendu. Please can you just come up on stage? Mr. Sanjay from TOI. And I certainly thank Mr. Raghu Rai and everybody else whom I could not mention the name. The team from Percept who has been at the back of the event for organizing it. I thank Mr. Kun.
Keep your mobile phones either on the silent mode. We have between us the legendary photographer, Mr. Raghu Rai, who will be taking you through the day with knowledge in photography. So please, as the day proceeds, do be free to put forward all your queries and of course your ideas. Mr. Rai qualified as civil engineer, started photography at the age of 23 in 1965. He joined the Statesman newspaper as their chief photographer and was then picture editor with Sunday, a weekly news magazine published from Calcutta. In 1971, impressed by Rai's exhibition at Gallery Delphi, Paris, the legendary photographer Henri Cartier-Bresson nominated him to Magnum Photos, the world's most prestigious photographers cooperative. Rai took over as picture editor, visualizer, photographer of India Today, India's leading news magazine in its formative years, which Rai could start only in 1977. He worked on special issues and designs, contributing trailblazing pictures, essays on social, political and cultural themes of the decade, that is between 1982 to 1991, which became the talking point of the magazine. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1971, one of India's most prestigious awards. In 1992, he was awarded Photographer of the Year in the United States for the story Human Management of Wildlife in India, published in National Geographic. His photo essays have appeared in many of the world's leading magazines and newspapers, including Time, Life, Geo, the New York Times, Sunday Times, Newsweek, Vogue, GQ, D Magazine, Marie Claire, The Independent, and The New Yorker. He has been an adjudicator for the World Press Photo Contest Amsterdam and UNESCO's International Photo Contest for many times. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Mr. Raghu Rai.
भारतीय तरीके से नमस्कार, good morning everybody, and it's such a warm, nice feeling to see so many of you who are interested in photography, and thank you all of you for being here. It's a very special feeling for me that photography is being practiced by so many of our young and not so young people. You see, when somebody asks me, what's your age? I say it varies from 17 to 70. Depends who I am dealing with. And I must thank Canon, Mr. Kumeshi, and Canon family for introducing me to all of you. And I must say, there are other camera companies and other manufacturers also. But what Canon is doing is, setting up this kind of workshops and photography awards. It's more than much more than the commercial mind anybody can have. So creating a whole community of photographers and contributing meaningfully so that we can interact. You know, when I was young and I started taking pictures, you know, we used to long to interact with somebody who could guide us, who could tell us. And then years after years, you know, we've struggled, we've done all kinds of photography. And we spent so many years, you know, going in different directions. And now when somebody asks me, like Canon India asked me to come and participate here, I'm very happy to be doing this because I certainly don't want our new generations to be wasting years and years going in different directions, not finding exactly where to go and how to go about it. You see, in our times, we used to get maybe one lens through a friend, or when you go abroad, you buy one piece of equipment and feel very happy about it. Today, everything is available on your doorstep, which is so wonderful, and which is also very dangerous, because those who can afford to buy all the lenses and cameras, they tend to get lost into the technicality of things, and without knowing the kind of experience and space each lens can give you, and especially the variety of equipment. The zoom lenses are available with Canon and other people are so amazing, but so dangerous, you know, because you cannot play around with the equipment without trying to understand the experience of capturing that space. So it is very precious that each time you use a lens, you get the feel of the space that it can take each time. Now, dealing with the space is one aspect of things which comes with the experience also. But, you know, the most important part, you know, nature or God has installed world's most powerful computer in our brains here, which is the largest, the best computer anybody can create, because he's the ultimate, only he can create such things. Having said that, this computer has memories and ideas stored inside. Now, talking about creativity in photography, this storehouse plays the most dangerous part. Now, if somebody asks me, give me one tip that can change my life as a photographer, I'll give only one tip. Don't take all those good photographs which are stored here. You know why? Because this storehouse reproduces. In other words, you can say, is copying other people's work. And why I have, and how I can say this today, because when we started taking pictures, so excited, wanting to do great work, shooting all the time, and those images beating their own madness inside your head. So you see similar situation, you say, yes, this is a photograph. That is not the photograph you need to take. This is a photograph which has already been done by somebody else. And the day, I promise, the day you decide not to take those photographs, nature will have so much more to offer. And that's the exploration you need to do. Everything else, and especially, now, let me put it in straight terms, the definition of what creativity in photography means. all that is pretty, all that is beautiful, all that is predictable is anti-creativity. Because, you know, you photograph beautiful Himalayas, they are beautiful. You photograph a beautiful child is beautiful. You photograph an old man with all those wrinkles. He has all that character inside that he's lived for centuries or whatever. The ability to go beyond that physical aspect of beauty or character. That's where your exploration should begin. You know, I remember when, you see, one of my editors asked me, why don't we do a book on Taj Mahal? Now, Taj Mahal is a subject which is done to death by so many photographers. Everybody has taken pictures. There are so many books on Taj Mahal. So, you know, I off and on, because Taj Mahal is just 200 kilometers away from Delhi. So when I didn't have much work to do, I just traveled to Agra and start taking pictures. When I had done a lot of work, you know, say 80% of the work, 90%, I edited, did the first edit, and I said, well, these are some of the points missing. So I took the next trip, and I had a list of things I wanted to do in Agra, you know, to complete my Taj project. And I landed in Agra, started looking for those ideas, those themes connected with Taj, and I just won't find it. You see, people ask you, even in interviews, or even some of you will have this idea, how do you decide what to photograph? We don't decide. The day you decide. Now you see, when I went back to Taj Mahal to take pictures, I couldn't find those photographs. You know why? Because though Taj Mahal is static in its own space where it's standing, yet the energy around it, the magic around it, what nature had to offer was different than preconditioned, programmed machine that I was looking for those kind of pictures. And by second day I was frustrated. I said, I can't get any pictures. And then late in the evening, suddenly, you know, in the skies, there were practically no clouds. And from distance I could see some bit of depth in the sky, you know, and strange kind of clouds. And then the lightning struck. And I wasn't even ready for it. Because it was, I think, end of September when the monsoon is gone, there are no clouds, no nothing. And the lightning struck. And I just picked up my camera and I kept it open, you know. And I got the picture. And that lightning struck right inside me also. That was, listen, you photographers with programmed mind, wake up again. And then next day I started shooting whatever nature had to offer me. And it was much better. You see, the most magical thing about us, human beings, is we have mind, body and spirit. Mind is a programmed machine most of the time. But your spirit, your energy that your body carries, has so much current in it. When you have the sensitivity to connect with the energies outside, you get signals. How? The signals are even walking through the streets. And you know, you have to be a keen observer. And when you're walking through the streets, and suddenly some situation has some feeling about it, some nudge. It says, hey, look at me. Here I am. That moment. You know, that heartfelt moment is the thing that you need to follow. And not from here that, yes, this is the kind of picture I have seen before, and take another picture. And I tell you, the magic that is there to be explored. You see, just now we were talking about the comfort zone. Human mind, basically all of us, we need comfort. We need ease. We want to do things nicely and easily. Then you are not an explorer. You have to make yourself available to the situations, mentally, physically, spiritually. Why mentally? If you make your mind available to the situation, then the inside programming, the memories, then they don't exist in those moments. Let me go back. You see, yoga, people do yoga. Why? Yoga, the opposite word to yoga is viyog. Viyog is separation. Yoga is to unite, to be in unison. So when you do yoga, which is a physical exercise, which also involves breathing exercise simultaneously, so when you control your breath and do your physical postures, your mind, your body has to be together in order to breathe with each posture that you have to do. When your mind and body are together, your spirit, your energy wakes up. You energize yourself. Similarly, when you make your mind, body and spirit available, then nature blesses you. Because you're there. And when nature blesses you, the blessings are countless. The blessings have no end. And I tell you, when nature knows that this child has been there for me, nature opens up avenues and possibilities which you can't even imagine. So you see that we want, and especially in today's world, fast food generations, fast food reporters, fast food editors, fast food cameras. I tell you, today's technology compared to the films, not many, some people still think, oh, shooting film was such a great idea. It had suspense, and you shot photographs and then you waited when the processing happened. For me, each time I shot on film, I went to my office and I'll sit breathlessly waiting for the results. And even waiting for another extra hour would make me angry, because I have engaged myself, connected with so much around me, and I have come back and I want to see what's been going on. And in digital technology, you click and you see it right now. And the ability to see it right now, where your steps are going, is one hell of a thing for me. And that was technology. This is technology. Some people ask me, don't you miss it? I said, no, because Eastman Kodak company didn't belong to my father or my grandfather. But what this technology is giving me, so quick, so fabulous. And you see, now talking about programming, the worst thing which stops being creative is the programming. Now, here in this case, in digital technology, you click the picture and you've seen it right now. And you can make out, what the hell are you doing? You are reproducing somebody else's image. Or you haven't captured the moment at the right time. And the next moment you are more alert. You are more awake. And you say, no, wait a minute, I won't let it go. Isn't that a beautiful thing to be doing? It's like a painter doing his painting, and with each stroke of his brush and the colors he's using, he knows where he's going. And in those film eras, when you shot the whole day, 10 films, 20 films, you didn't know exactly. And yet people produce good pictures. But the edge today is that right now, you're here. And you don't lose a minute to change your steps, to control your mind and work through your energy, through your spirit, to connect with what is precious and what is fresh. Especially if there are some photojournalists sitting here, I'd like to share something very important, because this is one of the things we often hear from photojournalists. You know that our editors, our news editors, they don't understand photography, and they don't use the best pictures. Because I have also spent those years when I was young, and I go and shoot and engage myself with every inch of space. Now, editor is the biggest boss in any newspaper or magazine for sure. But you are the individual who's the biggest boss of that situation that you visited, because you had first-hand interaction with that space, political, social, cultural, whatever. And if you truly acted like a sensitive human being, with mind, soul, and spirit, you connected with every inch of space and you captured the experience. When you come back to your office or to your lab, you are not alone, you are charged with that energy. So it's photography that energizes me, that enriches me, and in order to be there and to capture the best moments is my right. So you have to live with that feeling. And I tell you, many of you, I can make out, must be doing different professions. And yet they are interested in photography. But, anywhere, no matter which profession you do, sense of exploration, the idea of exploring and rediscovering this world around you, there can be no alternative to this exploration. And that's where you should invest your energy. And as a awake, you see, the thing is about photography is that you have to be awake all the time. Jaga hua hai. You see, for me, photography, taking a photograph, seeing it, experiencing life, capturing the moment, and then seeing it here is a darshan. I'm sure many of you understand this word, darshan. Darshan is not just seeing, but seeing in totality. And when people ask me about my ultimate goal, I say darshan. Nothing else. Because if, even in Hindu philosophy, our philosophy in India is that the ability to explore, to connect, to be fulfilled. So that when you die, you don't die as an incomplete, starved human being. And many rich people have lots of money and lots of pleasures and joys, but if your spirit is not fulfilled, you still die as a hungry, incomplete man. And in any art form, whether it's painting, photography, music, writing, what is it? We explore, we discover, we capture, we share, and we are fulfilled. And you see, many of these artists you see, this special feeling and aura about them. Why? Because they are living life to the fullest. And that is the magical thing about these individuals. For me, Calcutta has been a very, very special city. There are two most precious cities in this country. One is Calcutta, another is Varanasi, where human expression overflows all the time. And even in the streets, people are living such personal moments on the footpaths also. Well, apart from being a heavily crowded city, and of course poverty is part of this India, this country, and our culture. That's the way it's been for centuries, very frankly. And I am not saying that poverty is a beautiful thing and the people should remain poor, but the expressions they have, the life they live, is so spontaneous and so much there. You see, also the feeling, we use this expression in Hindustani quite a lot, कि आपका दर्शन करके बहुत अच्छा लगा. Now this expression is what? कि आपका दर्शन, when we say it from really from our heart, कि आपका दर्शन करके मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा. क्यों लगा? Because that person that you met in that moment was mentally, physically, spiritually there. And he was sitting and talking with you. And you experience the total aura of this being. And when you leave, you feel so nice and full. So it's precisely that kind of energy of a situation in totality that you have to capture. But only thing is, please get out of your comfort zone. Make yourself available. Be tough with yourself. Because all those good guys are boring guys who are easy, breezy, and walk along. And I promise you that when life becomes a darshan, you go hugging people, you go dancing on the streets. Today, I must tell you that when I shoot for myself, I am so blissfully happy. I walk on the streets, I take photographs, I dance on the streets physically, literally. And I feel so fulfilled because all those energies, all those magical moments, I'm living with life in that any given space, and it fulfills me as a human being. But creativity is a constant, continuous process. And this process must go on a regular basis. And that's the time when things start improving and growing richer, and you feel richer, and the world becomes more beautiful than ever before. I think what I'll do is, we'll see some of the photographs, and we'll begin with the photographs that I took in my early days, where I will look at a person or this much of space and take photographs, and then how I experienced my space enlarged and how my canvas became bigger. And I can almost explain in some of the pictures what they mean to me. Now, this little baby donkey was my first picture that I ever took. My elder brother Paul, who's been a photographer, I went to stay with him, when I was not happy working with the government as a civil engineer. So I went and stayed with him. Lots of his photographers, friends will come. They'll talk about cameras, they'll talk about photographs, everything else. But it didn't mean anything to them. It was all cameras, lenses, photographs, ideas. And they ate photography, they drank photography, they did photography. This was happening around me for a few months. Till one day I said, one of my brothers was going for a shooting spree. So I said, give me a small camera, I'll also go and take some. So he gave me a small Agfa supercillion camera with a normal lens. And my friend was shooting in his village, and I saw all these children having fun with him. And then on the side I saw, excuse me, let's go back to the baby donkey. I saw this baby donkey looking very cute and silly and so refreshing because it was so young and tender looking. And the landscape was fading, late evening light. I took the picture, and probably this was the only picture and maybe a few other clicks of the children in the street, in the village. And when my brother saw it, he sent it to the Times newspaper in '65. That's the time when Times newspaper would carry something humorous, something funny, something ironic on their weekend paper. So they carried this picture this big, with my name on it. So imagine, somebody who picks up a camera and takes first picture gets published. So that was quite a kick for me. And so I thought, very good, wonderful. And then, this was my first picture, but look at it, just one animal and fading landscape, which I couldn't have because the light was silent. And I took the next one. See, then, my brother gave me another telephoto lens and a camera. So I started using that telephoto lens. I think it was probably 200 millimeters. So in those days, you get one lens, you keep using for months, because you are fascinated, you got another lens. So you didn't have range of lenses like today. You can, and in those years, we didn't have zoom lenses. So I saw this lady, the way light falling on her, just the speck and her hand. And I made it very graphic. In those years, it was Eugene Smith, whose work we used to see, very black and white graphic. The next one. These two gypsy girls. Again, you see the play of light and shade. Of course, this is looking a bit too dark, but even the lady underneath has details on her face. So the idea was to capture the beauty as well as the light and play of light and shade. But again, very straight and very bold. Tell you next. This is when my son was born. The title for this photograph is My Father and My Son. When my son was born, so my father came to see him. He was holding his tender hands like this and talking to him. And I was standing above him. And I said, put your hands together. And see, it's so graphic and strong as a composition, and the tenderness and the old age. This is in Tripura, in when the Bangladesh refugees had started coming to Tripura and other areas, so I was shooting there. And it's about sensuality. Even little babies have that. So don't be afraid of being a sensual. Next one. This is one of the refugees here. It was raining at that time. It was monsoon time. And you can see the patch of the water leading up to her. But then, while making a print, I made it a little more graphic. But basically, what I'm saying here that my figures, my space is just this one. This is Republic Day rehearsal in Delhi. Now, here I will say that extra moment that gives you a little nudge. The band playing, and then he lifts it. And the roundness of that, and the roundness of the dome in the background, as if that has come from there. It will go back to it. And the graphic quality. At that time, I loved being, making prints which were deep and strong in blacks and getting details in the blacks. This is, when Zakir Hussein's death, and these soldiers were waiting. It was hot summer day, and one soldier almost fainted, and he sat down. But if you see the lines also, the play of lines, the white line under the car, this is the presidential car, and that patch, grey patch going there, another patch going there, and the shadows of the people. So each and every line, patch, and every form matters in your photograph. Now this is a God-sent moment, when you're waiting. With a normal lens, that's what I had at that time. I saw these birds, eating food grains, and I saw it, and I'm holding and standing there. And I said, yes, it is interesting, but it's not enough. It's not enough. And I didn't click. And I'm standing there, and then suddenly this black bird lands in between, and the sparrows leave that space around him. And I click a picture, and the bird goes off. And that I have got just one frame of this photograph. But this is when you wait, then nature provides. Now, if I had taken picture of only sparrows, it will look interesting, but so what? But these are the moments which energize the space. Now, if you look at the structure of this photograph, sorry? Now you see the structure of his body and the way his head is placed. It's very sculptural because there are so many pictures of old men and women. But if you see the structure, it's different. It's old age and yet a kind of monumental structure that creates like this. This is again, walking through the village, and some liquid is coming out of this strange door. And again, I have printed more, in a graphic way, so that it creates its own kind of strange feeling. You see, either you capture the mystery of things, you reveal the mystery of things, otherwise everything else is information, and information is okay. Because even Government of India, there are many departments which provide you with the information. There are many NGOs which give you lots of information about any situation they're dealing with. Information is not enough. Your image must have that instinctive energy and power, and then information becomes relevant. This is also with 200mm lens that I had at that time. And if you look at the texture of the landscape, and early morning, people coming out from their village, but the imprints of man and animal on the earth, uska wo tana bana bund diya dharti pe, the texture, that feeling has so much of energy of its own kind. This is on outskirts of Delhi, which doesn't exist anymore because all these spaces have been eaten up by the urban developments in Delhi. This is also one of my very old pictures with a normal lens. And you see, I climbed the first floor of my friend's office, and I said, I want to show traffic going in different directions. But this picture could have been taken maybe 150 years ago also. That's the way India has been. And this picture got published anywhere and wherever I stand. And I didn't realize why people are going crazy. And now when I look back, you discover that it has a charm of its own, that eternal India, which goes on living its own kind of world. This is also Delhi, and right in the middle of the Delhi, because in those years Delhi was so different, and there was areas which were not constructed. So here was a young calf, I call it the junior bullfight. All these naughty kids, chasing that calf away, and if you look at the energy around it, the way it's floating and the dust and everything. Old men, late evening sitting outside the Birla temple in Delhi. And, you see the sticks and the lines, the vertical lines of the architecture going up, the man pushing the, ice cream thing. Now, this is at the back of Humayun's tomb. This picture also could have been taken 150 years ago, because this Delhi does not exist. And now, what I'm going to share with you is something most precious to me as a photographer. Let's go back to that. You see, when you document life in any given situation, be it villages, be it urban situations, observations. And you know, if you're doing it with sensitivity and wholesomeness and waiting for the right moment, you are capturing photo history of that time. Yesterday, Jayant Gandhi was also here, who owns Vaughan and Shepard. Now, they were the first two photographers brought to India by the East India Company to capture, to photograph the British Empire and their, you know, the country that they were ruling. And those two British photographers went around photographing India systematically. Unfortunately, you know it that as a Vaughan and Shepard, you know, they got burnt and they've been able to save only few glass plates. Now, in those years, the cameras were so big and the lenses were also equally big and heavy and very slow. And the films were the glass plates were very slow. So you had to give time exposure and have people to carry your equipment, you know, set it up, take a photograph, and if you take one picture, it takes almost more than an hour to set it up. And today's technology, in fraction of a second, maybe what, 10 frames per second, it's almost a joke for me, because I never used it that fast. But the ability to capture so much and in such a short time. So imagine those guys who did those photographs in those years, when you look at them and you say, oh my God. Now you see, you look at a great painting done of Chaurangi Square by a great master of that time, and you see a great picture of Chaurangi Square done by, say, Vaughan and Shepard in 1860s or whenever they started here. You look at the great painting and you say, yes, very nice painting. But when you look at the photograph taken 150 years ago, the difference is, first thing, you say, oh my God, that's the way it used to be. Or that's the way we used to be. So this photo history that has been captured by the camera, which cannot be altered, because history is written and history can be rewritten, but photo history cannot be rewritten. And this shot, this Delhi does not exist anymore, because you see, there's still that rail track, and there were wheat fields in the background where this wheat threshing is going on. Now they've created park, and they have also small colonies which have come up, absolutely filthy kind of architecture behind it, and everything has changed so completely that all the romance and poetry of that India has disappeared, is disappearing everywhere. So this is a photo history of that place, you know, which cannot be altered. This is a photograph. Now, you see, I don't mix and superimpose things. This is one simple picture. The difference is that I was sitting on the front seat of the car, and what I was seeing through the windscreen was one thing, and the back view mirror was showing something else. So I have included the back view mirror where you see this pot and the crow sitting on that pot, which has got completely merged because it was full open aperture. There was no depth of field. My focus was on infinity, and everything merges into such a drama. You see, also the fact is that you are sometimes sitting, you know, physically you're sitting somewhere, but your mind is traveling somewhere else. You're thinking of some other world, you know. When those two worlds merge, they create an image like this. Could be. You see, they say plant trees because they retain water. This was flash floods in Jaipur, near Jaipur, and I was flying in a helicopter. So I took this shot, you know. So wherever there are trees, you can see the water. It retains water around. But the quality of the landscape is so beautiful, which is very unusual, the feeling. It's not the normal kind of landscape because of this water pattern. This is, you know, in Chandigarh, Nek Chand's folk artist, he does all kinds of things. But if you look at the clouds, they also look very strange, the kind of things he does. You know, how long can I go on? Yeah. Tell you next time. See, this is, I have seen even Western mind's response to this photograph, and especially for me, this is my childhood. When we were small, we used to stay in near the rivers and canals. My father was in irrigation department, so usually we had mango gardens around the canals. And this is one of my childhood memories. You can see the mangoes hanging and these kids and buffaloes walking around. And when I showed this work abroad, you know, most people had the same thing. That their tender heart, their childhood memories were, you know, chilly. This is my daughter. You know, the farmland that I bought when I started working, she would come with me all the time, and I was landscaping. And then it was time, evening time for us to go back. And she sat down in the car, and the look she gave me was very strange, and the landscape around it was also equally strange. As I said, you know, either you capture or reveal mystery of things. Now, the clouds are very dramatic. The sea is also, there's a lot of energy in the sea, but look at the body language of the people. As if they've lost something and they're searching. You see, they are lost. So there is strange kind of mystery about it. And not just a pretty seascape and the cloudscape. It's not just that. So you have to capture that little extra, which becomes yours. This is also in Madhya Pradesh, a long, deep kind of landscape, and the sky and the horizon merging, and that patch of water, and the steel structure in the foreground. Now you see, stories, they say, you know, your photograph must tell a story. Now stories have been told and retold. There is an expression which says, a good photograph is worth 1,000 words. And we would feel very delighted. A good photograph worth 1,000 words. But let me tell you, today I have reached a point where I say 1,000 words can be a lot of noise. How about some silence? You know, you have to break all those cliches, even if they are good. These are all cliches. And all those pretty pictures are cliches. You know, the image must energize you and nudge you and wake you up for another encounter and exploration. So what is there? Nothing really. But if you look at the feeling, it has its own feeling. And this was taken long ago, and I didn't print it at that time. So each time I looked through this negative, it again said, hey, wake up. So I woke up, I said, okay, I print it. This is in a dargah in Kerala. You see the body language and the clouds and the forms. It's very strange for me. There is no specific story about it, but there's strangeness about it. A strange feeling in each situation, in each person sometimes you feel, and that's what is needed to be photographed. This is in Delhi, you know, where almost all the rallies, political rallies will happen. And this is lunchtime rally, probably Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who was a great orator, and he gathered so many crowds. But if you look at the people, the faces, they are merging into each other, and they merge into the leaves, and the tree takes over. So it has its own kind of mystery about this image. But if you see, now these photographs, what I showed you earlier, and these photographs, the canvas is opening, the space, the experience is becoming larger. And there are more elements in each photograph than what you saw earlier. And but you don't have to wait for years. This is where you know, I like to share it with you. That you don't have to wait for years for you to open up. Begin right now. And you see, Basu Bhattacharya, I'm sure you know of him. And some of his movies were very, very sensitive and very nice films. And especially Tisri Kasam, I was really fond of it. And he was a wonderful, loving, and a great storyteller, and very sensitive man. So one day, at that time I was with India Today, he came to my office, and we had a terrace where nobody will go up because it was not cleaned up and everything. But each time there were clouds, there was monsoon, I'll go up and sit there and order my tea, coffee there. So he came, we ordered coffee. And he was such a great storyteller that he was narrating something which was very interesting, but the sky was unbelievable. So I suddenly, you know, I became very abrupt with him. I said, Vasudha, I must tell you something. I said, you know, all this sky, all these clouds, they belong to me. And I said it with a lot of arrogance, deliberately. He said, why do you say that? I said, Vasudha, you are a great storyteller and you tell beautiful things, but just now you don't have time to look at them and enjoy the experience of their movement. So they are only meant for me, that's why they belong to me. So please remember one thing, all that you can relate to belongs to you, provided you have the energy to feel it, to understand it, to inhale it, and reflect it through your work. We were traveling to Bombay in a train, and this chaiwala was moving from one bogie to another on the moving train, which was so dangerous. But look at the foreground, there's movement. And his expression was also